Welcome back. We are starting to see the impacts of inflation inside of our grocery stores here in Central Florida. And of course, we're seeing the supply chain crisis unfold as well. Take a look. These are some photos that took in a public store just a couple of days ago and posted my findings on Facebook earlier this week. And a lot of people agree they're seeing a lack of paper products, pasta, cream cheese, Gatorade, juice boxes, all of it in low supply. Some people couldn't find chicken or cat food. Some of the areas of the store looked fine. Produce looked okay. Bread, crackers, chips, that was all fine. Wine and beer still look good. And a lot of you responded to that. Joining us this morning to talk about this growing trend and what we're seeing is UCF professor and Dr. Sean Snaith. Always great to see you, Sean. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. I'm sure you're seeing it too, right? You go out to the store, you see these bare shelves. We're all seeing it with our own eyes. The question is, a lot of folks still don't understand, why is it happening?
Well, I think, the root of all our current economic problems, whether it's inflation, the labor market, or these shortages that we're seeing in the grocery stores and elsewhere, goes back to the policies that we implemented in 2020 and a failed attempt to contain COVID-19. When we locked down portions of the economy, we shut down manufacturing, closed so-called non-essential businesses. Then 2 months later, we started it up again, and as we left that historic recession, people started spending. And all that spending ran headlong into a just-in-time supply chain that just simply couldn't keep up and still can't keep up. This is a problem that I think is going to be with us through 2022.
How do we get through this, Sean? Because I think that's the big question, is that now it feels like there's such a backlog, right? I saw this, the 60-minute special a couple of weeks ago, and they're showing all these ships off the coast that can't get into port. And even if they get into port, there's not enough people to unload them. It almost seems like an impossible task to get through this.
Well, the problem is, if this was like a one-time burst in demand that went away, then eventually the supply chain could catch up. But, we continue to spend at the federal level, and we poured trillions of dollars into the economy in the second half of 2020 and through 2021. And so that demand just kept going. So, we're seeing not only shortages in the manufacturing area, but now, as you mentioned, the logistics piece of the supply chain. Once those products are made, they still have to get to port, they still have to get on trains or trucks, they still have to go to distribution centers, and they still have to go from distribution centers to the shelves. And so, during the pandemic, the toilet paper shelves were always empty. You can count on that. Now it's sort of random. It just depends on what cargo containers are getting unloaded and getting delivered and which ones aren't. And so you just, as you said, products sort of randomly are not available for certain periods of time. And then throw in the Omicron and a lot of people calling out sick. So you have, a labor shortage issue that's, further inhibiting these products getting to the shelves. But like I said, I think we're going to see this for the rest of the year. It's not going to be over anytime soon, unfortunately.
You touched on this a little bit in that response. I was reading an article talking to Art Laffer, who was the top economist for Ronald Reagan. Obviously, this happened, back in the 80s as well. And he talked about how we're doing things now is the exact opposite of how Reagan did to get us out of that situation. That instead, we're sort of going through the opposite effect and not seeing the same results. What do you predict?
Well, I'd like to be hopeful that, we'll see policies that, would help turn this around. But there's really been no indication. We're still sort of doubling down in many places around the world on the policies that didn't work last go around as far as COVID-19, but did inflict significant economic damage that we're still working through. So, like I said, I don't think there's a magic wand at this point. We put ourselves in this hole with bad policy, and we're just going to have to scratch and claw our way out.
It's not going to be a fun year for that to sense that. But Dr. Snaith, we always appreciate your insight and you taking the time to be with us and shed some light on this. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Good to see you.